This movement is called the kneeling hip extension. Now this exercise is fantastic for two major reasons. First of all, because it conditions the lower back, the glutes, and the hamstrings. And the second thing is it teaches you how to tip forward from your hips. Now this is a common problem that most people, when they bend, they don't lift from their hips and from their legs. What they do is they bend forward from the spine and then lift from the spine. So in anatomy, that's flexion and extension of the lumbar spine. We don't want to use the spine as the hinge for movement because the spinal extensor muscles have a primary function of stabilization, not performing that lifting-based motion. So we can do this exercise to prepare ourselves for further exercises that require that, what we call tipping from the hips motion. So we're going to start off in the kneeling position, although this can be a challenge for many people because pressure on the knees is very uncomfortable. And the other issue is that most people don't have that much knee flexion, so they can be on the ground. So an easy way to get around this is to use a pad. You can use a step-up bench and then put something soft over the front to kneel on. So that usually lessens the amount of discomfort on the knees. Now, in this position, we're going to be talking mostly about the lumbar spine, so I'm going to come around the back side here. And our lumbar spine, normally, most people have no problem in this position finding a normal lumbar curve. Now, I do want to make it a point that in this motion or when you're doing any exercises that require lumbar extension, you don't need to jam the facet joints by trying to lock your back out as hard as you can. This is going to cause discomfort for a lot of people, particularly with low back pain. So what we want to do is find out where the end of the range is so you can arch as much as you can and then let go of that about 5 to 10% where you feel comfortable. That's the position we want to stay in. Now, as mentioned, the ideal motion is not when you're bending forward to flex forward from the lumbar spine. As you can see, she's starting to lose that curve because she's rounding forward. That's what we don't want. So we're going to come back up to the start position again. We want that soft lock position that I just talked about, not fully extended. And we want to learn how to tip forward by using the hip joints. So if you were to tip forward from the hips, let's go ahead and do that. We can tip forward while holding onto that lumbar curve. So that way, all of the load goes down through the hips, which forces the glute muscles and of course the hamstrings to do most of the work. So if we come back up again, that's actually the exercise right there. So we're learning how to hold onto the lumbar curve and shifting the hips back, forcing them to do the work in the bending forward motion. So from there, we can lift the chest up as always and tuck the chin, so we can always work on many facets of posture and muscle balance at the same time. We're going to find the arch in the back as far as it can go, let go about 5 to 10%, and then what we're going to do is we're going to try and get the torso as parallel to the ground as we can for the amount of time that you're instructed to do so on your corrective program. So if we were going to do a 3-second hold, it would look like this. So we hold onto that arch, we're going to tip, pushing the hips back and try and get the upper body as parallel to the ground as we can. We're holding onto that arch, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to push the hips forward again, not arching the back on the way up until we get all the way to the top. So that way we're tipping from the hips, we're maintaining the position of the spine and learning how to bend properly. So let's do that again, keeping the chest up, holding onto the arch and tipping down, trying to get the torso as parallel to the ground as we can. That gives us a nice challenge in the lumbar extensors. 1, 2, 3, and then back up to the starting position again. Now a common issue with this is that people will not get a challenge over time because their hips shift so far back that the weight isn't heavy enough on the lumbar extensors. So something you can do is you can place your arms next to your head like an old style sit-up, just like that, and that's going to increase the weight. So we do the exact same thing. So we're going to shift back with the hips, trying to get the body as parallel to the ground as we can, keeping that nice posture alignment. We hold 1, 2, 3, and then come back up again. And yet again, another way to make this more challenging is to try to tip forward from the hips as far as you can without shifting the hips too far back. So go ahead and come back down again. Try not to get your hips too far behind you, and that presents quite a challenge because now it's a little bit more of a balance issue. There's only so far you can bend forward before your hips have to really go back. So that's much more challenging. So hold and then come back up to the starting position again. Okay, arms down. So that's our kneeling back extension exercise with those two major points, which is conditioning the posterior portion of the body, low back, glutes, and hamstrings, and also learning how to tip forward from the hips. This is going to be very useful for a lot of different motions that you'll need to do strength and conditioning in.